Well, I am the self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist when it comes to Power Rangers, so I guess I need to jump into this subject a little bit and talk about it. Fans seem to really want Zordon to come back in the 30th anniversary once and always. The real issue is that he died in season 6 in Power Rangers in Space. It's the famous Z-Wave that went across the universe and destroyed the United Alliance of Evil, which consisted of Rita, Zed, the Machine Empire, Divatox, and Astronema, all led by Dark Spectre. Now, this is something that I think is very misunderstood. A lot of people think that the Z-Wave was meant to destroy all evil in the universe, and then it gets criticized because, of course, the next season there's evil people out there. It's never actually stated that the Z-Wave is going to destroy all evil across the universe. They don't refer to it as ever doing that, and we see in the next season on the planet Onyx, there's lots of minions from some of these different groups that are there fully alive. Throughout all my research and all the things I've done, I've come to the conclusion that the morphing grid is good and evil. It's yin-yang both sides, and it's about balance. I believe that the Z-Wave was simply balancing out this battle because Zordon was so powerful and he had all these different Rangers across the universe. He was also working with other groups, other heroes like the Masked Rider, and so when he was sacrificed, all it did was even it out. It didn't destroy all evil or anything like that. It just put the morphing grid back in balance. The question remains, is it possible to see Zordon in the 30th anniversary? I've seen some people try to theorize that, well, we've seen Goldar Maximus and Beast Morphers, we've seen Zed and Dino Fury. The only issue with those two examples is that they're both copies. They're not the actual Zed and Goldar. They're clones. They're a fabrication of what these people, what these villains were. You can't really say, oh, well, they're back, so that means Zordon's alive. And now, of course, they've talked about Rita being back in the 30th anniversary, but the rumors are that Rita is going to be a robot or something to that level, which maybe was built by Scrozzle, and Zed maybe wanted a copy of Rita, but the real Rita became the Mystic Mother back in Mystic Force. So as far as we know, she's still good, she's still doing good things, or she's passed away. The actress, of course, who played the original Rita passed away years ago, so she is no longer around to do that. I mean, we could have someone else portray Rita if needed, but as of right now, Rita is not evil. She's out there doing positive things. There's no explanation of what happened to Lord Zed after he was turned good from the Z-Wave. There's theories that he became the Master from Mystic Force and he was turned evil again. I do have a whole theory about the Mystic Knights of Tirnanog and Mystic Force Power Rangers all being connected, and that is talked about in that video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. By this theory, that means that Zordon could possibly be cloned and brought back to life in that way, but he wouldn't be the original. The only way I really see the whole copy of Zordon thing working out is that if the villains revive Zordon to drain his power and use him as a power source to fight the Rangers. I think the only way to really conclude the special, if this happened, would be for Billy and Zach to have to destroy Zordon. And yes, that would be a recycling of the whole in space storyline, but they never really had closure. They never got to end the Zordon era themselves, so maybe that would be a good way to do it. If they revived him and he was just back, what would he do? I just don't really see why we would want to have him back full time. I mean, would they want him to go into mentoring the Cosmic Fury team? I really don't want Power Rangers to just become the Zordon show and everything's about Zordon again. I mean, we've moved way beyond that. There's 30 years of this show. I know we're paying tribute to the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I just don't want it to be, oh, now the show's about Zordon again. We're in the Neo-Zordon era. I don't want that. The reason I feel that way is because we had this sort of idea of having a Zordon-like mentor back in Megaforce, and everybody hated Gosei completely because Gosei was very much like Zordon, and we've moved past that. We've had great mentors like an RJ. We've had Doggy Kruger. We've had these really awesome mentors, and there's just no reason to go back to a floating head or a head on a wall that just talks and can't do anything else. More importantly, I don't think that bringing back Zordon is going to bring back old fans. I don't think people who have not watched the show in 25 years are going to say, you know what, Zordon's back, I'm back on, let's watch it. I don't think they're going to do that. They will probably watch the 30th anniversary special and then be done with it if they're the type of person who hasn't watched in 2 decades. So for that reason, I just don't feel like it's worth putting all this lore in question just to make a few fans happy who don't follow it anymore. Now, the main theory is that Zordon is in this time warp tube. When they broke the tube, it didn't actually kill him, it just cut him off from this dimension, and so he's still out there somewhere. His body might be able to be found or something along those lines, and a lot of people bring up the comic books as a good example of him traveling to other dimensions and doing all this, but the comic books aren't necessarily the live action show. A lot of the things in the comic books are not canon in the live action, so we can't really use that as an example. So the whole idea is that maybe they could construct a new time warp tube and then like a radio frequency in and find Zordon and bring him back. There were several times in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers where Zordon was lost and they had to do this sort of thing where they found him and brought him back. So that's not completely out of the question, but what would be majorly in question is the Z-Wave itself. If Zordon didn't actually die and nothing really actually happened to him, the Z-Wave was simply caused by destroying a time warp tube, which means that the time warp tube is basically a atom bomb for the morphing grid. So Zordon didn't sacrifice himself if the tube was the thing that did it. This doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it really just jacks up the whole lore of Zordon and what the Z-Wave was. It brings up the question, why don't the Power Rangers just build a bunch of time warp tubes and every time a threat shows up, they just go, hey, we've got a new villain, break another time warp tube, boom. The universe goes crazy, all the villains die, and there it is. That's it. They just have these giant atom bombs for villains. That's what it is. To me personally, that would screw up everything in the lore of Zordon, and it would really discredit everything about his sacrifice. And again, it just begs the question that it would be so easy to defeat a villain if we just need to destroy a time warp tube. Now, seeing Zordon is really that important for the fandom, and we really need that in this special. I think the best way to do it is to do a flashback. There are already rumors about there being a flashback since we see the full lineup of the team with the Green Ranger. But even more specific than a flashback, I think that it would be really great if Billy had a dream about when he was leaving to go to Aquitar, and Zordon says something to him that we've never heard before, maybe a warning about the future or what might be coming. Maybe it could give us more insight to what exactly Billy has been working on all through Zero. I mean, the rumors are that Billy was making the turbo powers, and I think maybe that could still be true, but maybe Billy was working really heavily on getting back the Mighty Morphin powers the whole time. And when we get to this special, maybe he was the one who brought these powers back himself. Personally, I think this is the best situation, the best way to do it, because Billy is the last of the original 5 Rangers to be on the show. Him leaving in a very kind of tragic way to go to Aquitar because he could die would be a great time for Zordon to say something to him that we just didn't catch. And I think that would be a really cool way to tie up some sort of storyline or show something that this whole time Billy's been on Aquitar, he's been preparing for a war or something like that. Personally, Zordon's not a character I really feel like I need to see, because the more I watch Zordon as I get older, the less I really think of him as this outstanding mentor. And before anybody jumps on that, if you haven't seen my Zordon is Evil video, I really encourage you to watch it, because that's one of the most famous sort of fan theories that's been around for years and years and years before I ever made this channel. And I really tried to dive into the whole idea, is Zordon evil? And what are all the signs of it? Jump on that video and we can discuss whether or not Zordon's a good mentor or not. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I am excited for the 30th anniversary, and we're getting down to it. Only a month away basically from it. So this is really exciting. No matter what happens, I'm excited for it. It's a really great thing for Power Rangers. Hope you guys are doing great. Have a good one. Bye.